There has been a great debate on whether the tactics during the Seven Years' War changed or not. These tactics did change. There are several examples where commanders broke away from traditional waging of battles. These tactical changes can be seen in all areas of combat, including land, naval, and siege warfare. The Battle of Quiberon Bay marks a dramatic change in naval combat during the Seven Years' War. Admiral Hawke, commander of the British forces at Quiberon, broke from the traditional line maneuvering and gave an outright attack against the French at night. In shallow waters, Hawke got so close to the enemy that he essentially used the French vessels as navigation. Where the French moved successfully, he followed. Where they ran aground, the ships acted as markers. Using the captain's godlike authority to break away from previous methods, Hawke marked a definitive change in naval strategy. New commanders are waging battles, like Hawke did, using tactics beneficial to the situation and not the regulations of naval academies in England. Called the battle that gave way to an empire, Hawke's victory not only saved Britain from invasion, it also led the way for naval reform by means of tactics and regulation. The Battle of Quiberon Bay is the most significant episode of the Seven Years' War and forever impacted England, granting them arguably the most powerful empire in the world.
The decision taken by European powers to ally themselves with the natives was one that would inevitably change the tactical dynamics utilized during the Seven Years' War. The distance that separated Europe from North America meant that reinforcements and European regulars would take a large amount of time to arrive, thereby necessitating the alliance and usage of native troops. But these native soldiers were not trained in European styles of warfare, and so did not understand or have patience for the parole system or for prisoners of war. An example of this can be found in the journal of James Byrd, who, during the surrender and evacuation of Fort William Henry, witnessed natives tearing their children from their mothers' bosoms and their mothers from their husbands, then singling out the men and carrying them into the woods and killing a great many who they saw lying on the roadside. He also describes the natives taking the officers' swords, hats, watches, fusees, clothes, and shirts, leaving them quite naked, and this they did to everyone they could lay their hands on. The use of natives altered drastically how the prisoners of war were treated in comparison to previous European wars. The targeting of women and children was something not used by European armies in the 18th century, and so demonstrates a dramatic shift in the tactical approach for the Europeans. If not for the traditional native customs of warfare, killing prisoners, and looting the defeated, the tactics used by the European armies against one another would reflect that used in Europe at its time. Allowing what Europeans considered to be a war atrocity was necessary for maintaining the native alliance, as George Washington affirms in his letter after the Battle of Jumonville, in which the chief half-king said that if Washington refused to attack a smaller French party that had been spotted a little distance ahead, that the half-king would never help us any more to take another Frenchman. The need for support was vital as European supplies and reinforcements took too long, and so pleasing the indigenous allies was mandatory, whether it be through fighting or through killing prisoners. These sources demonstrate how, through the integration of Native Americans into European armies in the French and Indian War, the boundaries around non-combatants and prisoners were reshaped.